Welcome to the Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC Fight Night 265, Sarukian vs. Hooker, also known as UFC Qatar. I'm your host, Ben Duffy of Sherdog.com, and with me, as usual, is Keith Schillen, the executive producer of the Sherdog Radio Network. Keith, you made it back alive, safe and sound from Madison Square Garden. How does it feel to be back home?
Good. It's always good to go to UFC. Sometimes it's a lot. I had to take a bus and a train and all that, but I mean, it's always good to be there in person.
Yeah, I don't know if I could be one of the serious road dogs.
No.
Like a John Morgan type that's just there, fight in, fight out, 42 weekends a year. But I enjoy the situation I have where I have the option to, cover 2 to 4 events a year if it's convenient for me. Like that's kind of perfect. That's the good news. The good news was we had UFC 322 last weekend. Big pay-per-view, historic one. Probably the top 2 pound-for-pound fighters in the sport, male and female, both in action. As much as I would like to spend the next 3 hours talking about that, we have got UFC Qatar to look ahead to. UFC Fight Night Sarukian versus Hooker. 14-fight card featuring, obviously, a high-level lightweight contenders fight at the top, one that will have possibly immediate direct bearing on the title picture, and a bit more of the 170-pound division sorting itself out, as well as Bilal Muhammad and Ian Gary feels like almost the only 2 top 10 welterweights that didn't fight last weekend facing off in the co-main event. Give me your overall thoughts on this card.
For a fight night, I think it's pretty good. I give it like a B. I mean, there's nothing spectacular. I mean, the top 2 fights are big. Return of Horiguchi is good. So I would say it's a pretty good card.
I can feel the B. I might even lean B plus. A lot of that is down to me being really excited for the return of Kyoji Horiguchi and the fact that they have him in a matchup that they're not messing around. If he beats Tagir Ulanbekov, that could potentially propel him directly into a title shot in his next fight. If he makes the weight, looks good, beats a solid contender Ulanbekov. So I do like that. Outside of the main co-main event and Horiguchi Ulanbekov, give me one fight that you would be sad to see this card lose.
I'm going to go way down, and I'm going to go with Aliev versus Rock. I think that's a fun fight.
Yeah, Shamrock, we'll talk about him when we get to him, but for however long that lasts, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. There will be things to talk about before and after his fights for sure. I like that one. That's one that I might have picked. I am morbidly curious to see Jack Hermansson and Muktabek Orolbai meeting at welterweight. I mean, we have Hermansson, the guy that's dropping from 185 pounds for no apparent reason, and Orolbai, the guy that has failed to make 155 so many times that they've basically pushed him back to 170. But should actually be a good fight between 2 good fighters. First up at UFC Qatar is a heavyweight matchup featuring a pair of debutantes in Marek Buljo and Denzel Freeman. Buljo, the 33-year-old Pole, is 6-0 as a professional. As I mentioned, this will be his UFC debut, but he fought most recently back in June in Poland. His career so far is 6 wins, 6 first-round finishes. None of them have gone past the midpoint of the first round. So we'll see if the UFC is going to be able to put something in front of him to slow him down. They're going to try with Freeman. 34-year-old Georgia native fighting out of Colorado is 6-1 as a professional. Again, this will be his UFC debut, but he is the outgoing LFA heavyweight champ, and he defended that title most recently back in March against Hugo Cunha. Freeman, it's worth noting, is stepping in on just a couple weeks' notice. He's stepping in for Jose Luis, but Freeman, a guy that probably was on the UFC's radar anyway, as they have been snapping up every heavyweight with a pulse over the last 2 or 3 months. Odds on this one, fairly close. Your favorite is -150, underdog +130. Who are they, Keith?
Dude, I have no idea. I mean, the amount of tape study on these guys, there ain't that. I mean, especially on Buljo. I apologize if I'm saying his name wrong. I'll say Freeman's the favorite. I mean, the LFA champ. I'm going to guess him.
You are correct. Denzel Freeman, minus 150. Marek Buljo, plus 130. And for what it's worth, I'm usually pretty good with European names, and I'm probably getting that one wrong as well. In checking out his fights, I heard his name pronounced about 3 different ways, so we'll see what we get when he steps out into the cage. But yeah, Freeman is minus 150, Buljo plus 130. There is a little bit of old school style versus style matchup to this one. Marek Buljo is a very good grappler. Like, I wasn't able to find a ton of top level competitive achievements, but he runs his own BJJ gym. When you watch him fight, he clearly is a ground fighter by preference. I'll jump right out and say I'm not completely sold on either of these guys as a super high level prospect, but as 2 fighters with under 10 professional fights apiece, and one in particular in Buljo, who has literally like 5 minutes of cage time, it's also too early to tell. Like, they're both in their early 30s. They could have another 5 years to develop and another 10 to fight at a reasonably high level. For Buljo, it's really just going to come down to how good he is at getting fighters into his world. He's a big guy. Like, he's going to be taller and rangier than Freeman, even if Freeman is probably 15 or 20 pounds heavier in the cage. But he's not the most nimble guy on his feet. And he, at this point, mostly kind of swings his way into range, gets into the clinch, and finds ways to haul people to the ground. His ground and pound is nasty once he gets people down, and he is equally happy softening them up for a submission or just pounding on them until they turtle up and the ref pulls them off. Freeman is a more interesting, well, I don't know if he's a more interesting prospect competitively, but he's a more interesting prospect for the UFC because this guy is kind of, he oozes personality. He's an interesting cat. He's funny. Like, with all the tape study I had to do over the last couple days to get ready for this card, I should not have gone down a rabbit hole of his social media, but I ended up spending way more time just watching him kind of goofing around and doing his thing. Yeah, if he can even be good enough to win 2, lose 1, and stick around for a while as he develops, he has some low-key star potential. He's a wrestler. Clearly his striking is coming along quickly, but he's a wrestler. Former small college, NAIA wrestler who has continued. He's done some senior Greco wrestling. He continues to work his wrestling and develop his wrestling outside of MMA. And I like that. Considering how many thousands of fights we've talked about, hundreds of fighters we've talked about, and what a refrain it is that we keep coming back to, that fighter A knows how to wrestle but just doesn't use his wrestling anymore. Dude, give me a good wrestler who wrestles over a great wrestler who doesn't wrestle. I do love that. So Freeman, like I say, he's probably going to be 20 pounds heavier in the cage, but he has very much the Muhammad Usman, Thomas Peterson type build, where he's stocky, barrel chested, doesn't have the longest reach. He's a pretty nimble athlete. He's like, he looks a little soft around the middle, but he's actually more explosive, more fluid than you would think. Like, it's not all the way to he's not all the way to like Chris Barnett, like, 5'9" fat guy level, but he's got a little of that where he is quicker and more coordinated than you would expect from looking at him. This is a super hard fight to pick, again, because these guys have so little experience. It's perfectly possible that Freeman is just going to bust Buljo in the face and knock him out in 30 seconds. It's also possible that he's going to shoot straight into a guillotine and it's going to be over the other way in 30 seconds. I do like that the line is fairly close, but I am going to lean towards Freeman here as a fighter who has a little bit more experience, for what it's worth, more actual cage time, that from what I've seen, openly embraces the things that make him good as a fighter. Like he's a willing wrestler who is developing his striking, but shows no real signs of strikeritis. Like he understands that his wrestling and striking are to set each other up. This is the first time either of these guys have really fought. Like this might be each guy's best opponent so far. I'm going to say this one is over in the first round. And gimme Freeman by first round TKO. I'm guessing he clips Marek with something on the feet, dives in, finishes him with some nasty ground strikes. But again, just as possible, it goes the other way. These guys are really, really unknown quantities.
Yeah, I mean, Freeman, I mean, he's an LFA heavyweight champion. So that's, it's a pretty good organization. Southpaw, he's very wild on the feet, loads up a lot. He's got a big left hand. He does have a head kick knockout, which is cool. You mentioned he wrestles or look for takedowns. I don't think he's as good as wrestler as I mean, he's kind of sloppy, but like you said, he's out of shape. Like he's an out of shape wrestler. So he's not that technical there. Upper body takedowns. But though he can shoot from the outside. What I do like on the ground, he moves to a better position, but not the best control. But he does have good ground upon. Some that has just that like Derek Lewis just being super big kind of thing. Baggio, I'm sorry, I know I'm butchering his name.
So
I saw one of his fights and it was over immediately. I didn't see any stand up at all. He shot immediately. Decent entry, good top control, good ground pound. He has 3 subs on his record. So not a lot of confidence in my pick because of the lack of film on Baggio. But I'm with you. I'm gonna take Freeman. He's bigger. I know he hits hard. Give me Freeman. Maybe stop the takedown for you. Maybe land on top himself. But I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna say he connects in the very first round. Give me Freeman by first round TKO.
All right. Welterweights take the cage next at UFC Fight Night 265 as Nicolas Dalby tries to turn things around against Saygid Izagakhmaev. Dalby, the 41-year-old Dane, is 23-6-1 with 2 no contests overall. He is 7-5-1 with 1 no contest across 2 separate stints in the UFC. He is 6-3 since coming back most recently after a stint in Cage Warriors. He's coming in off of back-to-back losses. The first back-to-back losses of this run in the UFC, fought most recently back in April, where Randy Brown one-shotted him in the second round. That was at UFC on ESPN, Gary versus Prates. So he'll be looking to snap the losing streak, get back into the win column against the debuting Izagakhmaev. 31-year-old Dagestani is 22-2 overall. This will be his UFC debut, but he was a standout in 1 championship. That's the good news. The bad news is that his last fight was almost exactly 3 years ago. I'm not saying it was a long time ago, but it was against Shinya Aoki. He fought at 163 back in November of 2022, knocked out Shinya Aoki in about 90 seconds. He has been on the shelf ever since. Finally making his UFC debut here. He is the favorite, Keith. What number do you think the line starts with?
Well, I know you, so I know it's pretty high. But if I ask that question, that 3.
You are dead right. Izagakhmaev minus 300, Dalby plus 240 coming back. Here's the thing. If Saygid Izagakhmaev had joined the UFC 3 years ago, right after the Aoki fight, where he was on a 5-fight win streak, he was probably next in line for the 1 championship lightweight, i.e. 175 or 170 pound title. This would have been a big deal. He is a Dagestani. He is a longtime training partner of Khabib Nurmagomedov, Umar and Usman Nurmagomedov. He is that guy. And if he had debuted against a guy like Nicolas Dalby 3 years ago, minus 300 might even have been a conservative line. Now, that line, I guess, assumes that he is no worse for wear and that he's still the same guy we saw in 2019 through 2022. If you'd asked me in 2022 or 2023, I would have said, yeah, he's one of the best guys in his general weight range outside the UFC. Like, I am excited to see him in the octagon. He's still just barely 31 years old. And what I remembered about him and was reminded of as I kind of went back and watched some of his fights recently is the difference between your top level Dagestani guys, your Khabib, your Islam, and the ones who are not great but good, your Rustam Khabilovs. A lot of it comes down to athleticism. Like, some of it is down to skill, but I mean, those guys all know how to wrestle. Izagakhmaev, at least last time we saw him at age 28, was a very good athlete. He was more from the Khabib and Islam mold. And a hard hitter as well, you know, throws a pretty good variety of strikes. I'm mostly concerned because I think the ride is just about over for Nicolas Dalby. I was a fan of his fights, his first time around in the UFC. I became a fan of him as a person, as a story kind of came out over the time between when he was cut and he was re-signed. And then it was heartwarming to see him come back and go 6-1 in his first 7 fights back in the UFC, actually kind of flirt with the outer edges of the top 15 as he was beating good fighters and beating them as underdogs almost every time out. But I think it's just about over. And it comes down to his last couple fights. Like, he fought Rinat Fakhretdinov, a guy who's not exactly a spring chicken himself, and he lost a close fight, but it was the first fight where I felt like he was fading faster or didn't have just that extra gear that he had always been able to pull out late in fights against younger, more athletic fighters earlier. And then, you know, Randy Brown blasted him, but you know, Randy Brown blasts a lot of people, but I think that might be a sign that Dalby's chin, durability, recoverability are starting to go. And even in his absolute prime, even when he was like 29 years old, his game always ran on some of that. So if that's going, it's going to get ugly quick. This is a wild guess that Saygid Izagakhmaev is the guy we had 3 years ago, but assuming he's a reasonable facsimile of it, I do think he's going to give Dalby a ton of trouble. I think he'll be able to take Dalby down. And while Dalby's a good wrestler and underrated grappler and should be able to take care of himself on the ground for at least a while, I don't have any faith anymore that Izagakhmaev is going to wear himself out first, trying to tap Dalby out or pound him out on the ground, and Dalby will be able to come back later. And that even discounts the possibility that Izagakhmaev just starts tagging him on the feet. Dalby's looked a little slower recently, and again, reacting much more poorly to his opponent's offense. It pains me to say it, but barring some weird surprise, I think Dalby's in for a rough night. Whether it's a long or a short one is up to his opponent. I'm guessing short. Give me Izagakhmaev by first round TKO.
Wow. You're a lot more confident in that pick than I am. I mean, this, like you said, is my, I don't know how to say his name. Saygid is obviously hasn't fought in so long that it's hard to have a lot of confidence in Dalby. I mean, Dalby's one of my favorite guys. I mean, he's a gamer. He's very mentally strong. He fights at an insane pace. He just tries to overwhelm guys with output. He's on the gas the entire fight. Never really stops working. Makes every position uncomfortable. Every minute that goes on, he's stronger. The problem is, like you said, at 40 years old, how long can he do it? And then, you know, this guy has been crazy durable, but then we're starting to see that fade now. He just was face planted by Randy Brown. So I hope that's not the beginning of the end. What we've seen him recently, he's a decent striker. He likes to switch stances. He's got a bunch of variety. Not the most technical. He can kind of overstand on his shots and be open to counters, but he has some pop. He's got a big kicking game. He loves teep kicks, as in those Holly Holm side kick. He has many defensive issues, though. He doesn't move his head. He's willing to eat a shot to land a shot. Very like rock'em sock'em robot style. He wrestles a lot, and he's not bad at it, but his defensive wrestling is. I mean, Fakhretdinov took him down a bunch. Silva took him down a bunch. In this weird sense, though, like having bad takedown defense almost works for him because he gets back to his feet, and instead of him draining his gas tank, getting back to his feet, his opponent almost drains their own gas tank because they're either trying to hold him down or they have to take him back down. He does have 4 submission wins. He also showed he's tough to submit. He avoided all the submissions from Claudio Silva and Gary Bonfim. And he's got a good cardio. I mean, this is a guy who can wrestle for 15 minutes hard. Izagakhmaev, he's not the biggest guy for the weight class. He is a Muay Thai striker. He marches down his foe. Good jab, hard hooks, really steps into his shots. He's got a quick high kick, good calf kicks. He mixes punches and kicks together really well. Defensively, he pillars, which I'm not a fan of. But he will look for takedowns. I wouldn't say he's a wrestler, even though he trains with the Dagestan guys. But if he gets on top, good ground and pound. He's a really good grappler, quick back takes. He's a huge submission artist. He has 12 subs on his record. So I think it's a really fun fight. I am with you. I'm picking Saygid. What I hate is I hate picking against Dalby. But Saygid, I mean, I think he lands the big shots on the feet. Can he put Dalby out? I think that is a big possibility. I also see him maybe winning some of the scrambles early. I see Dalby kind of like fighting off submissions. Maybe the first, second round is like that. I expect Dalby to maybe make a late run and maybe even win the third round. But I'm going to say Saygid. I'm going to say he goes all the way. I think we have a little bit of a war. I say Saygid by decision.
Next up on the UFC Fight Night 265 prelims is a lightweight matchup between Nurullo Aliev and the debuting Shamrock. Aliev, the 26-year-old from Tajikistan, is a perfect 10-0 as a professional. He's a perfect 2-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. He fought most recently back in January, picking up a unanimous decision over Joe Solecki. He'll look to make it 3 in a row against the debuting Shaqueme Shamrock. The 32-year-old Englishman by way of Ireland is 11-1-1 overall. This will be his UFC debut, but he is coming out of Octagon MMA, one of continental Europe's best promotions, where he was on a 5-fight unbeaten streak. Fought most recently back in May, picking up a split decision over Attila Korkmaz. Odds on this one favor Aliev. Keith, what number does the line start with?
I'm gonna go with 3 again. Even though it could be much closer.
Close. Aliev minus 275, Rock plus 225. I'm gonna flip it to you for analysis first, but just if you're not familiar with who Shamrock is, think of all of the most legendary, for whatever reason, UK fighters like forming up like Voltron. Like he's got a little UK/Ireland. He's got a little of Connor's attitude. He's got a little of Paddy Pimblett. Got a little bit of Lee Murray. The big part of his backstory is that Shamrock spent like 10 years as a fugitive outside of the UK because he was wanted for a crime that it turned out he didn't commit. But he's back. He's fighting professionally. He's winning a bunch of fights and saying cocky, outrageous shit before and afterwards. And now he's in the UFC. Keith, tell me what we've got in terms of the kind of fighter he is and who gets it done on Saturday.
Nice. Now you got me rooting for the guy. This is
if Lee Murray didn't do it, he'd be awesome.
Yeah. I was circling this all before the whole, Transformers analysis going on. But I'll start with Aliev. He's only 24 or 25. So, I mean, that's
26
really,
now. He just turned 26.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I'm going to update my notes. But he looks really good so far in the UFC. Very good athlete. I'd say his striking is okay. He works by a salad jab, follows with a good cross. He lacks power, though. He's more of a point striker. He likes to close the distance and grind in the clinch. He is a great wrestler, likes upper body takedowns, nice top control, good ground and pound. Not a submission artist, as he doesn't really have – I don't think he has a single sub on his record.
Nope.
And against a good grappler like Solecki, he did slow down a little bit. Rock, on the feet, he's a southpaw. He stands directly in front of his opponent, stands too tall for my liking. but I like his striking. Nice straight left. He's got a good check right hand. He's a good kicker. Throws kicks very easily. Right? Like great dexterity in his legs. Throws question mark kicks. Throws teep kicks. Like those John Jones oblique kicks. He will close the distance and clinch and land some strikes in the clinch. He wrestles a lot. I wouldn't call him a wrestler, but if he gets the fight to the ground, great back takes. He's got 9 subs on his record. Weak defensive wrestler, but he is hard to hold on. So he's got a good get-up game. So I think it's a really good fight. On the feet, I probably favor Rock with those kicks. The grappling could be really fun. Rock is a massive submission threat. But the problem is I expect him to be pinned on his back for the majority of the grappling. And because of that, I like Aliev to keep him down. I'm going to say Aliev to win a decision.
Yeah, I'm excited for Shamrock to be in the UFC for more reasons than just the personality and the backstory. And for what it's worth, he has fought some good guys over in Europe. Attila Korkmaz, that he just barely beat back in May, is a very good fighter. And that's a guy that might end up in the UFC sometime within the next year as well, for all we know. I feel as though, well, it's not stepping out on a limb to say that Aliev has the greater upside. He's substantially younger, and you can just tell from watching him fight and watching him from fight to fight that he's bringing stuff back to the drawing board after each fight and working on it with his team. There's every possibility that he is a different, better, improved fighter than we saw 10 months ago against Selecki. I hope Rock does well enough to stick around in the UFC. I wonder if I'm underestimating him, kind of the same way I underestimated Paddy Pimblett when he got to the UFC, where I feel as though I said almost the exact same thing. Paddy Pimblett's going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun for however long he sticks around. I'm not sure he's going to be able to do his shtick on top 15 lightweights, top 15 fighters in one of the best divisions in the sport. And I ended up being wrong about that. I would love to be wrong here, but I will believe it when I see it. I'm with you on this one. I think a lot of it will hinge on Aliev being able to take Rock down, and as dynamic as Rock is as a grappler, like we've said a bunch of times, and somebody always gives a shit in the comments, it's not that BJJ doesn't work. That's just a shorthand for saying, unless you are Charles Oliveira, fighting off your back is just too much of an advantage to give your opponent in top level MMA in 2025.
Listen, we saw what happens when one of the greatest jiu-jitsu guys of all time goes against a pretty good wrestler. Didn't even make the Olympic team, but we saw what happens.
Yeah, he gets kicked in the face.
and by the way, Bo didn't wrestle. Bo picked him up and slammed him.
Yep.
Anyways.
Yeah, that's the fastest we've seen Rodolfo Vieira move in his entire UFC run. But yeah, so make it 2 for Aliev by decision in this one. Next up on the UFC Qatar undercard is a middleweight matchup between Ismail Naurdiev and Ryan Loder. Naurdiev, the 29-year-old Austrian, is 24-8 overall. He's 1-1 in the UFC. He's coming in off a loss. He fought most recently back in June at UFC on ABC Hill versus Roundtree, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Jun Yong Park. He'll look to get back into the win column here against Loder. 34-year-old Californian is 7-2 overall, also 1-1 in the UFC, and also coming in off a loss after winning his UFC debut. He fought most recently at UFC on ESPN Sanhagen versus Figueiredo back in May, where he got knocked out in the first round by Azamat Bekzat. Prior to that, he had picked up a ground and pound win over Robert Valentin in his UFC debut. Odds on this one are fairly close. Your favorite is -130, underdog +110. Who are they, Keith?
Wow. I'm going to say Naurdiev is the favorite.
You're correct. Ismail Naurdiev -130, Ryan Loder +110. Let me know what you think of this fight, how it goes, who wins.
Yeah, it's funny because this is a good fight night card, but it just kind of shows you where we stand when it comes to the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, Loder won the Ultimate Fighter show not that long ago, and he's buried on prelims in a card that's not that loaded. Loder is southpaw, very rare on the feet. He has some power though. He strikes, and most of his striking is just to set up his entries for his wrestling. Defense is an issue. Doesn't move his head much. He drops his hands. He had a bunch of punches from Yakhyaev. He likes body locks. He will look to wrestle a lot. He's a former Division I All-American wrestler. I wouldn't get too excited. I said he took seventh. It was like 12 years ago or something like that. On top, solid top control. He can stall, and he can be very boring at times. But when he lets his hand go, he has pretty good ground and pound. He showed good, solid sub defense against Robert Valentin, but that's a win that hasn't really aged well. Naurdiev, he's well rounded. He's a Muay Thai striker, very good striker. He likes to work from distance, which is why he hated the pressure from Joe Young Park. He has really good power. He got 12 TKOs in his career. Good kicker. He's not a bad wrestler. Good reactionary takedowns. He is a submission artist. He's got 6 subs on his record. So I'm not that high on either guy. That said, Loder striking is so bad. I say Naurdiev beats him up on the feet. I think he stops enough takedowns, and then I see Naurdiev finishing him. Give me Naurdiev by second round TKO.
I love the breakdown there, and I like that Ryan Loder is actually an example of something that you've mentioned a few times over the last couple weeks on our previews. I mean, for one, yeah, he was an All-American once. He came in 5th or 6th, but hey, that's good enough that I'm sure his picture's up on the wall at the Northern Iowa Wrestling Room. You know, go Panthers, rep that. Is it purple and gold? I think so. Anyway, but, you know, we've talked about when good wrestlers first decide whether they're going to go to college at all and wrestle, but then, you know, are in college and deciding what comes afterwards. They have options. Am I going to try for the Olympics? Am I going to do freestyle on, you know, the international circuit? Am I going to try out Greco for a while, like Denzel Freeman that we just talked about a little while ago? Loder kind of messed around with a few of those things, spent a couple years at least assistant coaching at Northern Iowa, and now he is a 34-year-old in his 10th professional fight, and he's fighting a 29-year-old who's got like 35 fights. With his size and wingspan and athleticism, he should be a better striker. It all comes down to being a late starter. So yeah, I'm totally with you on that one. For what it's worth, I do think Loder has some upside. He seems physically pretty young, pretty fresh. Even though he's 5 years older than Naurdiev, I'd give these guys about equal chances of nicking the middleweight top 15 anytime in the next 2 or 3 years. But here now, I'm with you that this lines up as a bad style matchup for Loder. Naurdiev should just be pelting him on the feet, and he is a slick enough grappler, both positionally and just, you know, in terms of grabbing sneaky stuff in transition, that the takedown is not an automatic safety valve for Loder either. And we've kind of saw, you know, what it looks like when Loder starts getting tagged up on the feet. I don't think Naurdiev is as good as Almakhan, but I think the outcome here is going to be pretty much the same. Give me Naurdiev by first round TKO. Next up on the UFC Fight Night 265 prelims is a matchup of interesting bantamweight prospects on the right side of their 30th birthday in the form of Bekzat Almakhan and Alexandre Topuria. Almakhan, the 28-year-old from Kazakhstan, is 12-2 overall. He's 1-1 in the UFC. He is coming in off a win. He fought most recently at UFC 315 back in May, where he knocked out Brad Katona in 1 minute and 4 seconds. That allowed him to bounce back from just about the most brutal UFC debut imaginable as he stepped in to fight Umar Nurmagomedov last March. So he'll look for his second win in a row in the UFC against the younger and smaller Topuria brother. Alexandre Topuria, 29-year-old Georgian, 6-1 overall, 1-0 in the UFC. He made his debut back in February at UFC 312, where he won a unanimous decision over Colby Thickness. He's on a 4-fight win streak overall, looking to extend it to 5. Your favorite, Keith, is minus 120, underdog plus 100. This is almost a pick 'em. Who's the favorite?
Oh, man, that's a tough one.
Which is good. That's good.
Yeah. Topuria?
It's actually Almakhan.
Okay.
Bekzat Almakhan, minus 120. Alexandre Topuria plus.
Yeah, I was just going like off like name value if Topuria was the favorite.
No, I was a little surprised myself. Tell me what's good about Alexandre Topuria. Like, for somebody who is the younger brother of no worse than the second best pound for pound man in the sport, you would think he'd be getting more shine than fight night prelims. Like, what's good about him? And and who gets it done?
Yeah, I mean he's definitely good. The problem is he hasn't really faced anybody, so it's hard to really gauge, how good he is. And the other thing is he already has more losses than his brother, so and he's not his brother. Like I'm safe to say that, but neither is 99.99% of the world. So he is a good athlete. He's a decent striker. He stalks his opponent, short, tight striking, nice right hand, plus power. He draws power by stepping into his shots. He's a good wrestler, nice entries. He suplexed Colby Thickness in their fight. On top, good top control. He advanced the position on the ground in some really hard ground and pound. Almakhan, this dude is good. He's looked legit so far. In the UFC, moves well. He's pretty elusive. He cuts angles well with good footwork. Likes to stick and move. He darts in and out of range really well. Landing good shots, fast hands. He's accurate. He throws straight shots on the pike. Throws a lot of combinations. Gets inside. He starts to look for uppercuts. I mean, he cracked Umar Nurullo in their fight. He has solid power. He's got 10 TKOs. I mean, he showed great power against Bracadona, a guy that was never stopped before. He fights behind a high guard defense. Nice kicking game. He is a good wrestler. Nice timing on his entries. Good at grabbing his opponents when they move forward and kind of get to his own range. He loves body lock takedowns. But he only has 2 submission wins. So I think Topuria is really good, but I'm all in. I'm Almakhan here. I think he's better than Topuria really everywhere. I don't think we have a stoppage, but I was kind of baiting you a little bit on that. I thought the line would be bigger. I like Almakhan. I think he smokes Topuria. I like Almakhan by decision. The line's this close. I'll make it my lock of the night. Give me Almakhan by decision.
I would love to differ with you just to keep things interesting, keep things spicy for the listeners. But Almakhan, you put it right. He looks like the real deal. He looks legit. And that's impressive for a guy that's ahead of his UFC debut. Sherdog associate editor and Fight Finder database administrator Jay Petrie had to gut this guy's record. He's another one that came over from the CIS with about 7 or 8 more wins on his record than really should have been there. It turned out a bunch of them were kind of modified rules, things that really shouldn't have counted as MMA. And normally when you get a fighter like that, they end up not being the actual goods, but he has looked fantastic. Like he lost soundly to Umar Nurmagomedov. He had a couple bright moments, but I mean, ultimately, I didn't give it a 30-26, but plenty of people did. But you know what? He was coming in against a top 3 fighter in his UFC debut. Like, what the hell? Topuria, it's one of those MMA brother things. Like, he has the same base. He looks kind of like him. He has the same basic skill set in silhouette. His boxing looks a little bit like his brother's. His takedowns look a little bit like his brother's. His work from top position looks a little bit like it, but just he doesn't have quite the same level of athleticism, nowhere near the experience, obviously. Like Ilya's got twice as many fights, and just not whatever that intangible something, that killer instinct, just doesn't quite have it. He's still good enough to make some noise in this division, but ultimately, I'm with you here. Almakhan might be better at everything, but even if he isn't, the things that Topuria is best at and tends to gravitate towards doing in a fight play into the things that Almakhan does really well. I think Topuria is probably going to try his upscale wrestle boxer thing on Almakhan, but I think he's going to get outstruck. And if he shoots for takedowns, I think that's playing in Almakhan's hands as well. I could see it being a thing where Topuria shoots and Almakhan doesn't just like sprawl and disengage, but uses it to create a scramble, put Topuria in positions where he's not comfortable, and either finish the fight or at least rack up obvious, clear, lopsided rounds that way. I'm going to say this makes it to the final horn as well. I'm with you there, but yeah, give me Almakhan by decision, and I would expect that he probably wins all 3 rounds.
I was thinking about this for a second in sports in general, when you always have like the one brother who's like amazing and the other brother that's just okay. And if you make like a major league team, regardless if you're just okay, you're like sensational. Like, how many sports is there? Do you know? And people put this in the comments later. Which sport had like 2 brothers that were absolute elite?
The Mannings.
The Mannings? No. Eli Manning's so overrated. But I know we beat the Patriots twice. No, we didn't.
But you've got like, one obvious Hall of obvious Hall of Famer and one guy that at least made the Pro Bowl a couple of times. Okay. Like, it's not Jose and Ozzie Canseco.
Sure. I mean, the Watt brothers were both elite. You know, obviously, JJ and what's the one playing there? TJ. Yeah, TJ.
Yeah, JJ and TJ.
Yeah, they're both incredible. Klitschko brothers, boxing.
Klitschko brothers, yeah. I mean, they were 2 of the top heavyweights in the sport for like a decade.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what other people would put, but yeah, those are 2 that came top of my head. I'm sure there's other ones. But.
I mean, TK and Ronde Barber both made the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
or both made the Pro Bowl several years around the same time.
Yeah. Put it in the chat. I put it in the comments. Oh, did the obvious one, right? The obvious one I forgot is we said brothers, but sisters, the freaking tennis sisters.
Oh, the Williamses. Yeah. Venus and Serena. Yeah. Wow.
Oh, dude. How about the freaking the Schultz brothers in wrestling?
Yeah, the Schultz brothers. Dude, I was at BYU when I'm totally leaving it in, dude. I was at BYU when Mark Schultz got fired as the wrestling coach for fighting in MMA.
Yeah,
I was there at the time, and I was a fan of the wrestling team. Like, I was like, whoa, they got Mark Schultz to be the coach, and then like 5 months later, they fired Mark Schultz because he's doing cage fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, he can't do cage fighting. He can have 5 wives, but he can't do cage fighting. Sorry to go to Utah. Sorry, Dave.
I was there in person when the Brands brothers both made the finals, and Tom lost and Terry won. Yeah,
that's another good one. Yeah, the Brands. You know, it's such a niche sport. Like the field of competition is a lot smaller.
Well, I mean, give me another family in any sport that can match the 4 Smith brothers in wrestling.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good grief. Yeah,
that's a good one. I'm sure there's sports somewhere out there. I'm sure there's a couple of good soccer players out there.
I'm sure, but who cares? All right, Ulanbekov versus Horiguchi.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sure someone says the Diaz brothers, but okay. I don't think they were the highest level, but okay.
No. I'll say that of like sibling pairs in MMA, whichever one you think is the worst brother is better than the worst sibling of any other pair. Like neither of them was ever like a UFC champ, but they were both top 10 guys for a good long while. Yeah. Men's flyweights are up next on the UFC Qatar undercard as Tagir Ulanbekov welcomes Kyoji Horiguchi back to the octagon. Ulanbekov, the 34-year-old Dagestani, is 17-2 overall. He is 6-1 in the UFC, and he is on a 4-fight win streak since his decision loss to Tim Elliott back in 2022. He's already fought twice this year, winning a decision over Clayton Carpenter in January, and then coming back in June at UFC on ABC Hill versus Roundtree and winning a unanimous decision over Azat Maksum. He will look to make it 5 in a row, put his name in the hat for the next shot or an upcoming shot at the flyweight title against the returning Horiguchi. 35-year-old from Japan is 34-5 with 1 no contest overall. This is his return to the UFC, but he is already 7-1 in the octagon, with the only loss coming to Demetrius Johnson, maybe the best fighter of all time. He was let go by the UFC back in 2016, I want to say. No, 2015. Yes, was let go by the UFC on a 3-fight win streak back in 2016. In the intervening time, he won the Rizin Bantamweight title, the Bellator Bantamweight title, and the inaugural Rizin Flyweight title. Man has a whole bunch of hardware. He fought most recently on New Year's Eve of last year, so 11 months ago, defending the Rizin Flyweight title. He is on a 5-fight win streak with a no contest tucked in there. Needless to say, it's good to have him back. He is not favored to win. Keith, Ulanbekov is your favorite. What number does the line start with?
If it's not a 1, that's insane.
That is close enough for horseshoes. I took kind of, again, a median / consensus of the 4 or 5 biggest North American sports books, and I've got Ulanbekov at -200, Horiguchi at +170, but there were some books that had him at like, minus or -190. There were also some that had him at like -240. So yeah, Ulanbekov -200, Horiguchi +170. Keith, he's back. It is 8 years later, 8.5 years later. Kyoji?
That was a great cut by the UFC. A guy with what do you say, his 8-1 record in the UFC?
He was 7-1 when they let him go, and on a 3-fight win streak. Yep.
Yeah, 7-1 they cut him, and yeah, he did a little bit of work outside the UFC. Why the fuck is this fight on the prelims? And just taking the division, Alex Perez, Asu, Almabayev, that fight is on the main card.
Yep, it's the main card opener.
What is the rationale behind that?
I don't know.
And what I think I said Alex. What did I say, Alex? No, Alex Perez. Sorry, I said Alex Perez. I think. Still, like,
yeah.
What? Like the winner of this fight could fight for the title.
Like Perez is a pretty well-known name, but Ulanbekov is a higher-ranked fighter. Exactly. Like by every reasonable standard, this should be third from the top, like right underneath Muhammad and Gary.
And even if, we'll get to their placement on the card too. But even with, Perez being a big name because he fought for the title and stuff, anybody who knows Alex Perez probably knows Horiguchi. And Horiguchi, they probably know Horiguchi's a bigger name in the world of MMA. Just really, really weird. Anyways, Horiguchi's 35 years old, so that is very worrisome. He hasn't fought in a year, so I mean he's at that, like, he could clearly have decline, but he's faced so much high level guys. I mean the guy's fought everybody. So returning to the UFC, I don't think is that big of a deal for him. Very athletic, sets up his shots well with feints, good at beating his opponents at the point of contact. A lot of hooks, great overhand right. He's got good power. He's got 15 TKOs. I am worried about his chin, though. He's taken so much damage. Plus, he's been stunned a lot in the past. In his last fight a year ago, he got buckled 2 or 3 times in that fight. He can also overthrow his strikes, which lead him to be taken down. his takedown defense has declined over the years. Like you go back all the way to like when he was fighting Darren Caldwell, their rematch against in Bellator to now. Yeah, that's concerning. When he closes the distance and gets in the clinch, he's got some good striking in the clinch. Nice knees inside. He's a good wrestler. Nice entries. Good at winning scrambles. Busy ground and pound. He can get a submission. If he's taken down, he pops right back up, and he's got good cardio to go all 50 minutes. I mean, this guy's got tons of 25-minute fights on his record. Ulanbekov, he's a good athlete, long and lanky, moves well. He likes to press the action. He's good at landing strikes, then sliding away from the counter, then land again, so kind of going first and third. Nice volume, fairly technical on the feet, sets up his shots well with feints, accurate, works behind a long jab, follows with some straight power shots. He attacks with combinations. He does well to cut angles when attacking. He has some power. I go back to like the Cody Durden fight. He dropped him. He does have some defensive issues, though. He stands a little too tall for my liking sometimes. He keeps his chin high in the air. Throws some hard calf kicks. Doesn't check leg kicks. Bruno Silva has success kicking his legs, and that was a long time ago. But he's a good wrestler. But I've said this plenty of times. I think his wrestling is overrated. He can like get inside, grab a body lock, looks for like inside trips. He likes to overhook and then step over the leg, kind of like a dump. He's super strong. He can shoot out and shoots from the outside. But I mean, he struggled to take Maxim down in their fight. He's shown some pretty good takedown defense. When he's got taken down, he pops right back up. He does have to improve his top control. Sometimes he'll just stall on top. He's got some good back takes. He's got some long legs and stuff, and he's got 6 career submissions. I mean, he hit Nate Manis with a slick guillotine. He subbed Cody Durden. He showed some good cardio. I mean, he's had some pretty high paced fights and hasn't slowed down. So I've flip flopped on this one. I think the line should be a pick 'em. I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to take Horiguchi. It's the standing tall. I can see him. I can see both guys landing big shots, but I can see Horiguchi dropping them. Maybe, I can see him maybe losing the first round and then coming back with some power shots later. Maybe hurting Ulanbekov, landing some ground and pound. I'm going to say it's a really close fight. Give me Horiguchi by split decision.
Like you, I have been flipping back and forth on this one all week. Like the bad news about Horiguchi is that, yeah, he's been outside the UFC for 8 or 9 years now. He's 35. This is the first time he's fought this calendar year. He's been inactive since New Year's Eve. The good news is that his, I think 2 of his last 3 of his last 4 fights have been at flyweight. So he has been back down making 125. And for what it's worth, he has gone 16-3 with 1 no contest since he's been out of the UFC. All 3 of his losses were at bantamweight. He has not lost a fight at flyweight since he's been gone. That's pretty remarkable. Because he's definitely into the age range now where you expect people in the lighter divisions to either be moving up or just fading away. I could see him beating Ulanbekov. I could see him kind of nullifying Ulanbekov's wrestling, either just with his sprawl and underhooks, or by letting him, or just turning things into scrambles. Like I go back to his fight, especially his fight in Bellator with Darrion Caldwell, where Caldwell is a big bantamweight, like a tall, rangy bantamweight who is a wrestler through and through. And I feel as though the entire fight took place at the base of the cage with Caldwell just desperately trying to suck Horiguchi's hips out while Horiguchi's just basically sitting there with underhooks and just spending no effort at all, just nullifying the takedowns, just kind of looking up until the ref says, okay, fine, get up. I could see him doing that to Ulanbekov. I could see this turning into scramble heavy madness. I could see both guys getting their shots in on the feet, but I think Horiguchi is a more diverse striker and probably a little bit of a harder hitter on a shot for shot basis. I'm really tempted to take the upset here as well. I also feel as though this should be close to a pick 'em, but I'm going to go with Ulanbekov as the guy that is slightly younger in age as well as mileage and has been more active recently. I just feel as though I have a better handle on who he is right now. I've seen him fight twice, like basically I've seen him fight for 30 minutes since the last time I saw Horiguchi. So give me Ulanbekov by decision, but wouldn't be a bit sad if you were right on this one and I was wrong. Light heavyweights take the cage next at UFC Qatar as Abdul-Rahman Yakhyaev makes his UFC debut against Raffael Cerqueira. Yakhyaev, the 24-year-old from Turkey, is 7-0 as a professional. This will be his UFC debut, but he fought on the Contender Series back in August, knocking out Alec Lorenz in like 30 seconds. Prior to that, he had been a standout in several continental Europe promotions, most notably Aries FC. He is going to step into the cage looking for his first win in the octagon. The same could be said about his opponent, only he's had 3 tries already. Raffael Cerqueira, 35-year-old Brazilian, 11-3 overall. He joined the UFC as an undefeated prospect and has lost 3 times in a row, going back almost exactly a year. He's already fought twice this year. He got knocked out by Modestas Bukauskas in the first round back in February, then came back in August at UFC on ESPN Dolidze versus Hernandez and lost a unanimous decision to Julius Walker. So Cerqueira probably in the last fight of his first UFC deal, back against the wall to say the least. Yakhyaev is your favorite, Keith. What number does the line start with?
3.
It starts with a 1, but there's 3 zeros behind it. Yakhyaev minus 1,000, Cerqueira plus 650. Here's the thing. I understand why Yakhyaev is a favorite because he is a promising prospect. He's an offensively potent fighter who is super young and is pretty athletic. He looks like a good addition to the UFC, whereas Cerqueira has thus far just conclusively looked as though he's not ready for this level. Like, he's lost to pretty good fighters, he's lost to pretty bad fighters, he's lost to fighters that probably don't belong in the UFC either, and he's had relatively few positive moments across that span. Like, this is one of those fights where if you lined both of them up at the weigh-ins and showed them to somebody that didn't know MMA and you asked which of these guys is the 10-1 favorite, they would pick the jacked Brazilian. It's hard to say what's gone wrong for Cerqueira, except it's easy to say it's everything. While he looks like a big bruiser, he's pretty slow. He has just enormous defensive lapses on the feet. Like, Modestas Bukauskas is a good striker, but Ibo Aslan is just okay. And I feel like Aslan landed everything he threw against him. Yakhyaev is probably just going to... I think Yakhyaev could take Cerqueira down. Take him down, move to mount, slap him around a little bit, and choke him. But I don't think we even get there. I think Yakhyaev is probably just going to start hitting Cerqueira in the face pretty quickly here. If Cerqueira tries to kind of slow his opponent's roll by clinching, he could stave off things a little bit. I expect that he's going to be a little bit bigger, bulkier, maybe stronger in the clinch just as the older guy than Yakhyaev. But Yakhyaev has weapons from the clinch as well. Just there aren't going to be any safe spots. I'm not going to bother calling this my lock of the night. It's a minus 1,000 line for a reason, but give me Yakhyaev by first round TKO. There's just... Cerqueira's shown me nothing to indicate that he's going to be able to survive 5 minutes with this guy.
Cerqueira, he's a southpaw. Has like this taekwondo style striking. So he's a decent athlete, and like you said, he looks the part. Decent straight right. He likes a lot of spinning attacks. He does have some power. He's got a big kicking game. He kicks the body hard. He got some calf kicks. He'll look for takedowns, but he is not a wrestler. He does have a few subs, but I wouldn't call him a threat. He's a terrible defensive wrestler. He has no get-up game at all. And the big issue is I'm worried about his durability. He's been knocked out. He's been knocked out bad. He's super young. He can fight out of both stances. Very aggressive striker. Pressure counter striker. He's fast. He's got a big right hand. He can shoot for takedowns. Very aggressive with his ground and pound when he gets to fight to the ground. He's got 3 subs on his record. The only concern I have about him is I'm a little worried about his cardio. I mean, he finishes everyone so quick. He's only been a decision one time. So if it stays on the feet, it could be, fun. Yakhyaev could easily just take the fight to the ground and dominate there. I don't think we'll get there because I'm with you. I think Yakhyaev catches him on the feet early. Give me Yakhyaev by first round TKO.
Next up at UFC Fight Night 265, and at least as the card is constituted as of the beginning of fight week, the top prelim is a featherweight contest between Bogdan Grad and the debuting Luke Riley. Grad, the 30-year-old Austrian, is 15-3 overall. He's 1-1 since joining the UFC as a 2-time veteran of Dana White's Contender Series. He lost on season 7, came back last year on season 8, won and was signed. Since then, again, 1-1. He fought most recently back in June. It was at UFC on ABC, Hill versus Roundtree, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Muhammadjan Naimov. So he'll be looking to get back in the win column here against the debuting Riley. 26-year-old from Liverpool is 11-0 as a professional. He will be making his first appearance in the UFC here, but was a standout in Cage Warriors and probably would have been in line for the title if he had stuck around there instead of getting signed. He is the favorite to win his UFC debut. Keith, what number does the line start with?
It's probably big, but I one. I would have it as in a 1, but
Riley minus 275, Grad plus 225.
Okay.
I'm going to flip this one to you for the pick first, but one of the reasons Riley got snapped up as quickly as he didn't go to the Contender Series, didn't end up fighting for the Cage Warriors title, is that for as much as we just talked about Shamrock, this is the guy that is the actual teammate of Paddy Pimblett. And while he doesn't have the big distinctive mop of blonde hair, he's got a lot of the same personality traits. He's a fun, cocky guy who at least thus far has backed it up pretty well. Keith, let us know to what extent Luke Riley is the real deal and whether he gets past Grad on Saturday.
I'm clearly not as high on him as others are, because I don't think he should be this big of a favorite. I mean, Grad's not special. I mean, he's got some pretty solid pressure. He's a guy who wants to press the action. He's constantly moving forward. He's a builder, throwing big combinations. He sets up his shots well with feints. When he explodes, he really leaps into his shots. He throws hard, big hooks. He has some power. He loves spinning attacks. He throws a lot of kicks. He's got some good calf kicks. He has a flying knee KO in his career. Due to his style, he's very hittable. That's because he's wild. He doesn't move his head enough. He's been hurt in a bunch of fights. He's an okay wrestler. If he gets the fight down, he does need to improve his control. He has 3 submissions on his record. He does struggle to get off the bottom if you put him on his back. But he also plays BJ. He'll toss up a lot of subs off his back. Riley moves well. Good striking, good right hand, nice left hook. Really steps into his shots. He attacks the body. Good power. I like his teep kicks. He's got a lot of calf kicks. Gets to the plum clinch. I like his plum clinch. Not much of an offensive wrestler. He's a weak defensive wrestler. So I'm not as high on Riley as many others are. I am picking him here. Grad is fun, but he's too hittable. I think he walks into some shots from Riley. I think Riley finishes him. Give me Riley by second round TKO, but I'm probably going to bet against him in his next fight if he's this big a favorite against Grad.
Yeah, I was mildly interested in Bogdan Grad ahead of his ahead of his first run on the Contender Series back in 2023. Tom Nolan was a tall order, like literally as well as figuratively, but since his second run on the Contender Series and then his 2 fights in the UFC, I've definitely cooled a lot on him. I mean, I didn't even think he deserved the nod on the Contender Series. And normally when I watch the Contender Series, I don't have any like fight night responsibility, so I'm just watching it as a fan. But that one I was watching pretty closely because the guy he was fighting was Michael Aswell, who's one of the better prospects out of Houston. And I actually thought Aswell deserved to win a close fight there. You kind of carved to the heart of what's fun about Grad and what defines his ceiling, and it's not a super high ceiling. It's that he has pretty good offensive skills and the aggression to bring them into play, but bad defense. Like, he's a pretty good offensive striker. Like, he throws good volume, he throws things hard, but super hittable. I wouldn't call him a technical wrestler, but he's a decent athlete who is a willing wrestler. And I mean, in a lot of divisions against a lot of opponents, that's all it takes. I mean, earlier tonight, I said, Denzel Freeman, give me a good wrestler who wrestles over a great wrestler who doesn't. But his own defensive wrestling is not good. Riley has looked fantastic against the people he's fought, at least by the end of the fight. It's a little of the Paddy thing where in a lot of cases made things more interesting than they needed to be on the way to getting his hand raised at the end. This looks very much like another one of those type of fights to me. Like, hell, Paddy's first couple fights in the UFC. Like, Riley is different in that Paddy has always been a very good grappler who seemed to play with fire a little too much on the feet on his way there, just out of sheer cockiness or desire to entertain the crowd or whatever it is. Whereas Riley's best skill is his striking. And while he's a good offensive striker, he has lapses defensively. And I'm with you that somebody's going to make him pay for it sooner or later. It might be Grad. Hell, if Grad comes out and just decides, I'm going to wrestle this guy at all costs, he might make it like a long night for Riley, even if Riley wins. But ultimately, the real crux of this is 2 aggressive strikers, one of whom is pretty porous defensively. I think Riley tags Grad a few times early on. He might take some shots of his own. He might get taken down, but Riley's going to knock Grad out. I don't think Grad knows how to fight any other way. I know you picked Riley by second round, TKO. I could see that happening, but give me first round. And if he knocks Grad out in the first round, he's going to say some outrageous / hilarious things, and we'll be off to the races. The 6-fight main card of UFC Qatar begins with a men's flyweight contest between Alex Perez and Asu Almabayev. Perez, the 33-year-old Californian, is 25-9 overall. He is 7-5 since joining the UFC out of the first season of Dana White's Contender Series. While he was a top-level contender for several years, he has hit a rough patch of late. He has lost 4 of his last 5 and had several lengthy injury layoffs. He's only fought 5 times in the last 5 years plus. Hasn't fought at all in almost a year and a half. And the last time we saw him, sure enough, it ended with an injury. It was in the headliner of UFC on ESPN 58 last June, where he came up lame with, I think it was a right knee injury against Tatsuro Taira. So he's been on the shelf ever since, steps back into the cage here, needing to get back into the win column against Almabayev. 31-year-old from Kazakhstan is 22-3 overall. He's 5-1 in the UFC. He took his first loss in the UFC back in March against Manel Kape. He was in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 253. He came back in July at UFC on ABC, Whitaker versus DeRitter, and won a unanimous decision over Jose Ochoa. He will look to put that loss even further in the rear view against Perez. Your favorite is minus 200, underdog plus 170. Who are they, Keith?
Almabayev is the favorite.
You are correct. Almabayev is minus 200, Perez plus 170. This hardly needs to be said for a guy that's been on the shelf with a knee injury for 16 months, but Perez is an old 33, and he was an old 33 even before the knee gave out, even before he had specific joint injuries that we could point at. He is a guy that has just taken a ton of damage. He is aggro to a fault. It's calmed down a little bit now, but back in 2019, 2020, in kind of the wild years immediately after Demetrius Johnson left the UFC, it felt like all the top contenders were hyper aggressive to a fault. Like it just felt to me like we were never going to have a champ that was going to defend the title even twice in a row, not because they aren't good, but just because they're all such wild men. Perez was definitely one of those. He is, I still is, even as one of the older guys in the division, still is a big, strong flyweight, big guy by the standards of the division, very strong. In his prime, he was very athletic, just fast, coordinated, smooth, well-rounded. Like all the basic building blocks are still in place, but it's hard to have any trust in his durability. And again, these are things that are easy to say about a guy coming back from a long injury layoff, but if you roll it back to his last couple fights against, Nicolas and Tyra, I'm sure I said the same things then, and that was before the knee injury. He's just a guy that has the feel of being held together with baling wire and duct tape at this point. And while he's only been losing to really good fighters, and Almabayev is good, but definitely a step down from, top 5 guys he was losing to, I feel as though Almabayev is what he is. Like he's underperformed a little bit from what I expected. When he joined the UFC, I thought he was probably a future title contender. He has not turned into that. He has turned into a reliable kind of 8 through 15 type guy in the division. And it's weird to say because he's like a jacked little ball of muscle and he has like explosive movements, but I feel as though his physical horsepower is kind of what's formed and is going to form his ceiling in the division. Having said that, I think he kind of runs all over Perez here. He's a good wrestler, like physically strong guy, has a couple of go-to techniques that he sticks to and they work for him. He's a hard hitter who doesn't need to overswing to produce power, but sometimes does anyway. He gives up reach to Perez. He's going to be a good bit shorter reach, but I don't think it's going to matter much. I have the feeling that Perez is going to look slow and old when they get out there. Perez is also too tough for his own good. So I'm going to say this makes it to the final horn unless we get another low percentage injury. But give me Almabayev to just put the writing on the wall for Alex Perez. Almabayev wins all 3 rounds pretty easily, and we just find Perez struggling to do the things that he used to do at a very high level. I think Almabayev out wrestles him, outstrikes him, hits harder, wins the scrambles, and just wins this thing going away.
Yeah, I have no interest in this fight, and it's because I just really have no interest, in Perez anymore. I mean, he's the good of him. He's a big flyweight. He used to be extremely inactive. It's good to see him like starting to fight a little bit. And I know he hasn't fought in a while because of an injury, but for Perez standards, this is like recent. He's a wrestler boxer, good volume, like suppress the action, constantly moving forward, kind of taking the ground. He throws tight combinations. His straight right is his best below. Does best when he's in the pocket. He's accurate. He targets the body. Throws a lot of kicks to the body, hard calf kicks. He's a solid wrestler. Good entries. Nice top game. Busy ground and pound. and he's been subbed. The problem is he's been subbed a bunch in the past. Almabayev, he's a really good athlete. His output is inconsistent. Some fight he's the one pressing the action. Others, like the Nicolas fight and the Cop fight, he's pretty low output. When he gets inside, he throws hard. He showed good power against Nicolas. He tosses out some spinning attacks. A lot of his striking is to cause his opponents to kind of raise their defense, and then he shoots underneath it. He's a good wrestler, relentless to get the fight to the ground. Nice top game, good at attacking the post arms and keeping his opponent pinned against the canvas. Moves to a better position once the fight hits the ground. Good back takes. He's a submission artist. He's got 9 subs on his record. He wrestles so much that he will gas himself out. I want to pick Perez because there is times where he looks like he still has it, but the dude's extremely unlucky. I'm going to go with Almabayev. I think we get some fun scrambles between these two. I expect we get some back and forth. I think Perez is going to make a mistake. I think Almabayev is going to actually catch a submission. Give me Almabayev by second round submission.
Heavyweights are up next on the UFC Fight Night 265 main card as Serghei Spivak squares off against Shamil Gaziev. Spivak, the 30-year-old from Moldova, is 17-6 overall. He is 8-6 in the UFC. He is on a 2-fight losing streak, the first losing streak of any kind of his entire career, dating back to the beginning of this year. He got knocked out in the first round by Jailton Almeida at UFC 311 back in January, then came back in June at UFC 316 and dropped a unanimous decision to Waldo Cortez Acosta. He will look to snap the losing streak against Gaziev. 35-year-old Dagestani fighting out of Bahrain is 14-1 overall. He's 3-1 since joining the UFC out of season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series. Since his first career loss to Jairzinho Rosenstrike last March, he has back-to-back wins over Dontel Mays and Thomas Peterson. The most recent of those, the Peterson fight, was back in February at UFC Fight Night Adesanya versus Imavov, where he knocked Peterson out with a crushing right hand in the first round. He'll look to make it 3 in a row, prove that his best days in this division are still ahead of him. Keith, your favorite is minus 140, underdog plus 115. Who are they?
Spivak's favorite?
It's actually Gaziev. Gaziev is minus 140, Spivak plus 115. Serghei Spivak is still just 30 years old. This is his 15th fight in the UFC, and he's one of the youngest guys in the division still. That's the good news. The bad news is that having swung both ways on this guy, like pendulumed from making fun of what a lousy guy the UFC had signed. Where'd you find this guy? Why are you signing a guy that was beating up on Travis Fulton and Tony Lopez to, oh man, this guy looks like he might actually sneak into the title picture. I'm penduluming back. He is a slightly deluxe version of the fighter he was when he joined the UFC. He has the same basic skill set. What's really changed is that he's gone from age 25 to 30. He's gotten in some better shape physically, but yeah, he still kind of is what he is. He's a medium-sized heavyweight who is an okay athlete, and he is as good a striker and wrestler as he kind of can be with just the limitations of his size and his and his athleticism. He's clearly been working on his striking. Like, he tries to throw combinations. He tries to throw with proper mechanics. Just, yeah, his hands aren't that fast. His power is just okay. He will sometimes look like a fantastic wrestler and sometimes just look kind of like an average to slightly above average heavyweight wrestler. And a lot of it seems to come down to his opponent. Like, he ran over Derek Lewis on the ground in a way almost nobody else has, which is saying a lot because Lewis, for a nominally one-dimensional fighter, has kind of nullified, quite a few people's ground games, but Spivak just completely ran him over on the ground. Same with Marcin Tybura, where rematching a guy who'd beaten him just a few years before, Spivak just blew through him on the ground. But against Waldo Cortez Acosta, a bigger guy than him that fought a disciplined game plan and stuck to what he did best. Spivak lost in kind of pretty predictable, straightforward fashion. Gaziev, outside of the Jairzinho Rosenstrike fight, where he really did look terrible, just Rosenstrike was blistering him, and the fight could have been stopped, or the towel could have been thrown in before it was. Other than that, he's had some things kind of in common with Spivak, where I think he's a bigger guy than Spivak, but I don't think he's a great athlete either. And he's fairly well-rounded in that he has all the basic skills and tries to use them. But man, I'm surprised this fight is on the main card, because it's probably going to be terrible. Like everything else aside, like, rankings, divisional relevance, this is probably going to be a terrible fight. I'm actually leaning Spivak here. Younger, a little bit smaller, but I think Spivak probably outstrikes Gaziev at range. I think these guys probably end up clinching a lot against the fence, and we're probably just going to get walrus fight, slapping titties, cage exchanges where they'll just keep reversing each other against the cage. One of them will occasionally go for a half-hearted level change, but neither one really tries to get the fight down to the ground, and they just end up throwing little knees and short uppercuts at each other until the ref breaks it up, rinse and repeat. Give me Spivak to win 2 rounds out of 3 in an absolutely miserable fight.
Yeah, this fight is terrible. I mean, Spivak, he's not much of an athlete. That's why he struggled with the speed of like really good athletes like Sorogan. His striking has improved. He's on the feet throws like 1-2 combinations. He beat up Carlos Felipe with a jab. He throws a bunch of kicks, but I wouldn't say he's good at it. He definitely doesn't move his head defensively. He pillars and very hittable. I mean, he was hurt on the feet by Gelton Almeida, which is really bad. His wrestling, I think it's grossly overrated. He'll shoot entries. He's not bad at them, but he's better at like snatch singles. He likes to get in close and grind in close. You said it, master of slapping titties. He has some foot sweeps. He does some lateral drops, which I hate, especially for heavyweights. It's risky. He also goes for like headlocks. He hit Gelton Almeida with a wizard kick, but he's also a guy like who's willing to give up his back. He is good when the fight hits the ground. He's got some busy ground and pound. He's a submission threat. He has 7 subs on his record. He hit Marcin Tybura with a slick armbar at the bottom. Guess if he's this massive heavyweight, he stalks his opponents. He got some good hand speed. Throws straight shots on the pike. I like his straight right. He does target the body. He has some big power. He's a good wrestler, though. If he shoots, he'll shoot without a setup. He gets to fight to the ground. Nice top game. He looks to pass to a better position on the ground. Mean ground and pound. He has 3 subs on his record. He does need to improve his takedown defense. His cardio is consistent. He gassed against Rosenstrike, but looked much better against Downtown Mays. And he did look to be in better shape against Thomas Peterson. So I'm with you. This fight's terrible. I'm not high on either. I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to pick Gaziev. I say he stops Spivak's takedowns. I say he lands some of his own. I think the fight is ugly, but Gaziev hits harder. Give me Gaziev by split decision with 0 confidence.
Welterweights take the cage next, knock on wood, at UFC Qatar as Jack Hermansson tries his luck in a new division against Mukhtabek Arolbai. Hermansson, the 37-year-old Swede by way of Norway, is 24-9 overall. He is 11-7 in the UFC. He has alternated losses and wins for his last 10 fights in a row, dating back at least 5 years. He has decided to move down from middleweight, where he was a consistent kind of fringe top 15 guy for that entire time, to welterweight, where he will meet Arolbai, who is being forced there, most likely by the UFC. 27-year-old from Kyrgyzstan is 14-2-1 overall. He is 3-1 in the UFC. He's 1-0 at welterweight, but it's worth noting that his last 2 fights in a row were scheduled at lightweight and ended up being moved to catchweights. His fight last October against Mateusz Rebecki was moved to a 160-pound catchweight, and nobody said which fighter was responsible for that last-minute change. But considering that Rebecki has gone on to continue to make weight just fine at lightweight, where Orolbai once again needed a catchweight against Tafik Musayev back in June, I mean, the story kind of tells itself. He fought Musayev at UFC on ABC Hill versus Roundtree back in June. It was scheduled at 155 pounds, ended up getting bumped up to 165, which took a little bit of the shine off of his first round submission win. At this point, he has embraced his nature as a welterweight. He's back in that division. He's taken on Hermansson, and he is favored to win. Keith, Orolbai is your favorite against Hermansson. What number does the line start with?
I mean, I would have it as a 1, but probably 2.
You're correct. Orolbai is minus 240. Hermansson plus 190. If this were Hermansson's second fight at 170, say even if he lost the first, but had proven that he made the physical change without issue, I wonder if the line would be closer. But that being just one more unknown on top of everything, I wonder if that's what's bringing in money on Orolbai's side. I've been struggling with this, but Hermansson at 37, is he the oldest fighter to move down in weight in the UFC, other than like a career back and forth fighter like, you know, Cyborg or Randy Couture or something? He's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, how old was Jose Aldo when he went down?
Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar were both like 33, and we thought they were both crazy.
Yeah, this is bad.
He's got to be. And on the one hand, moving to a smaller, faster, younger, more athletic, and frankly more crowded weight class at 37 seems crazy. But then I look at Hermansson's record, and like I said, he's alternated losses and wins forever. And the people he's lost to have been some of the biggest hosses in the division. Maybe he's just saying, I'm tired of fighting Gregory Rodriguez, Roman Dolidze, Marvin Vittori. Like, let me get in there with some people closer to my own size. That might be what it is. Hermansson is not a plus athlete. He was not a plus athlete at middleweight at age 36 or at age 30. So at 37, I can't imagine I imagine he's going to be at a speed disadvantage against most UFC welterweights. He was always a pretty good wrestler at middleweight, even against people that were bigger, more athletic than him. Just, you know, he had tenacity, good fundamentals, just a good wrestler. I think his wrestling was a little overstated during his middleweight run, but it was pretty good. And good grappler as well, and a good striker, but always struggled to deal with people that were either faster or had better reach than him, or both. Just kind of your very, very standard jack of all trades who, no pun intended, who could be shown up by people who were either much better physical specimens or much better than him at one thing and able to kind of impose that on him. I never thought of it before, but kind of the Neil Magny vibe. And kind of like Neil Magny, some of his best wins just came from craft, determination, durability, or some mixture of all three. Like the win over Joe Pyfer. I mean, if he and Pyfer fought again at middleweight this year, there's every possibility Pyfer just knocks him out in the first round. His win over Kelvin Gastelum, I'll never forget that, because that was just him catching Gastelum sleeping. You know, blown takedown, brief scramble. He's kind of holding on to an ankle as Gastelum just kind of gets up, we've all seen it a million times. Yeah, you let go of the ankle, we get back up, and we go back to striking. And Hermanson said, "Nope, I'm actually going to heel hook you," and the thing was over in a minute. That's always been him. At the very least, against a roll by, he actually is going to enjoy a size advantage. A roll by was a big lightweight, but I never even thought he was like the biggest lightweight around. He was not, Jalen Turner. He was not Uroš Medic. Like he's a good sized. He was a good sized lightweight, long, rangy, pretty good at using his reach. He won't have that advantage at 170, at least against Hermanson. I can see the upset happening here. I don't think a roll by should be a greater than 2-1 favorite. Like a roll by is a pretty gifted fighter and he's a young fighter, but he's not blowing people out of the water at lightweight, welterweight, or in between weight like he's been fighting his last couple fights. Like because a roll by is moving up in weight and Hermanson is moving down and is almost 10 years older, I trust a roll by more late in the fight. And I think that might make the difference. Give me a roll by decision. And if my pick is right, I think it may come down to just Hermanson being a little too old, a little too depleted, making this move maybe later than he should have. It might be the kind of fight that doesn't really put either guy on our Bulls list at the end of the night. But yeah, give me a roll by decision.
Yeah, I mean, him moving down looks super desperate. He's a very intelligent fighter. Usually has a solid game plan. So I'm not trying to. This is separate than what I was saying about being desperate. I don't think going onto a weight class where guys will be faster is going to be good for a guy who's old. He tries to make up for being a minus athlete, but just kind of put him in position to win. He's a builder. His output picks up when his opponents fade. He keeps on the pressure. Can he do that? He's older and he's cutting weight. I don't know. He is technical on the feet. He moves well. He likes to stick and move. Again, he's not going to have the speed advantage anymore. He's good at changing up his rhythm, so he's hard to time. He kind of just touches until there's an opening. He's got a long jab. Keeps his boxing tight, a lot of variety in striking. A bit of a point fighter, and I think being drained is not going to help him. Good kicks, attacks the calves. He also likes those John Jones oblique kicks. Problem is durability is an issue. It might be gone. I mean, he's been hurt a lot. He was just knocked out by Gregor Rodriguez. I get why you'd want to move down after getting knocked out by Gregor Rodriguez. Rodriguez is a massive dude. He shouldn't be the guy to make you go, oh, I should go down to welterweight. He makes every middleweight small. So, and I guess getting knocked out, hit by something like that will say, yeah, guys aren't going to hit as hard, but I just don't think being depleted is a good idea. Guys have had success by pressuring him and forcing him onto his back foot. He's a solid wrestler. I would say he's more of an overall grappler. He's got some good top control. I mean, in his prime, he out-grappled Jacare, he out-grappled Talis Leites. Those are some good guys out-grapple. And he's got 6 subs on his record. Orlby, he's a well-rounded fighter, good boxing, very bob and weave style, clean 1-2s down the pike. When he works his way to the pocket, he throws big shots. He hits hard. He loves inside kicks. His striking is to set up his entries, where he's a very good wrestler, fast entries, also nonstop with his attack. Needs to improve his control. He loves the Dagestani handcuff, but he isn't the Dagestan level wrestler with it. He's got some good back takes. He is a submission artist. He got 6 subs. He just hit Musavayev with a great Kimura. At the end of the career, when you change weight class, I mean, who's had success? I guess Jose Aldo had a little bit of success, but I don't know. This just feels like a passing of the torch fight. I think the line should be closer because it is Jack Hermanson and maybe he does have something left, but I see everybody kind of really beating him everywhere. I think he's too good on the feet. I think he's the one who's going to be the better grappler. I want to take a stoppage and kind of say, that Hermanson is shot, but I think Hermanson makes it to the bell, but he takes a beating the entire time. Give me Almabayev by decision.
Third from the top at UFC Fight Night 265 is a light heavyweight clash between Volkan Oezdemir and Alonzo Menefield. Oezdemir, the 36-year-old from Switzerland, is 20-8 overall. He is 8-7 in the UFC. He's coming in off a loss. He fought most recently almost exactly a year ago at UFC Fight Night Jan versus Figueiredo, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Carlos Ulberg. That snapped a 2-fight win streak for him dating back all the way to 2023. He'll be looking to start up a new win streak here against Menefield. 38-year-old Dallas native is 17-5-1 overall. He is 10-5-1 since joining the UFC as a 2-time winner on Dana White's Contender Series. He won on season 1, but that was back in season 1 where you didn't automatically get signed if you won. And he happened to be on the same episode as Greg Hardy and I think Kevin Holland were both on that one. So yeah, he came back on season 2, won again, and got signed again, 10-5-1 since then, and he's won his last 2 fights, comprising both of his cage appearances this year. He picked up a split decision over Julius Walker back in February, then came back in June at UFC on ESPN, Usman versus Buckley, and won a unanimous decision over Omar Sy. He's looking to make it 3 in a row. He is not favored to do so. Oezdemir is your favorite. Keith, what number does the line start with?
It's got to be a 1.
Oezdemir is minus 240, Menefield plus 190.
Okay.
And I frankly don't get it, man. This is one of the ones, and when I say this, keep in mind that I had an absolutely miserable night of picking fights at UFC 322. I think I got like 6 fights in a row wrong in the middle of the card, including like I picked like 5 upsets in a row. Yeah, I had a terrible night. Like,
we picked a lot differently.
Everyone that we picked differently, you were right and I was wrong.
Nice.
Yeah, like yeah. If you'd known that, you should have let that Ecuadorian guy go off on me for a minute. Like, because here's something I said a few times last week, and I say from time to time. I'm picking the upset here, and it doesn't even feel necessarily like an upset. I feel as though these guys are in about the same place competitively. I feel as though it should be a pick 'em fight. I feel as though the 2 most likely outcomes are Oezdemir by first round knockout or Menefield by first round knockout. And I'm leaning Menefield. Oezdemir is who he is. He has been since he kind of came back to MMA and signed with the UFC soon thereafter. Like he definitely presents as a kickboxer. I mean, he literally went and did kickboxing for a couple of years in between his few fights in Bellator and joining the UFC. But in practice, in the cage, he's a guy that throws a couple of basic techniques with a lot of mustard on him. Like he throws basic 1-2s and basic leg and body kicks. His punches have good power on them. His kicks definitely do as well. I mean, just look at the guy's legs. He has decent defensive fundamentals, but he's not the fastest guy. So he gets clipped cleanly a lot just by people who have a little bit of reach on him, have faster hands, catch him over swinging. Menefield, obviously also a kickboxer, long. I mean, he's trained out of the same Muay Thai gym in Dallas for a long time. He's shorter than Oezdemir. Like Oezdemir's not a tall, rangy light heavyweight. He's more of a burly one. Menefield even more so. Even at 38, he is still an explosive athlete who hits like a ton of bricks. His problems have been, again, defensive lapses as well, fading late in fights, very inconsistent takedown defense. Like his striking defense is inconsistent. Like sometimes he slips and parries pretty well. Other times he just seems to run into everything his opponent throws at him. His takedown defense is consistent. It's consistently not very good. I don't think he needs to worry about that much against Oezdemir. I think for all the reasons that it puzzles me that Spivak and Gaziev were on the main card, I'm not surprised that this one is on the main card, even if I don't think it needs to be third from the top, because these two guys are probably going to stand toe to toe and swing until one of them goes down. I'm going to pick that to be Menafield. Give me Menafield by first round knockout. Just they're both going to get chances to get their shots in on each other. I have the feeling it's going to be a battle to see who can land the leg kicks first rather than who tries to check them. That could come into play if the fight goes any more than about 3 minutes. But this fight almost feels like a coin flip. But yeah, I'm going to lean Menafield in what I guess is a pretty substantial upset. Menafield by first round KO.
Yeah. So after making Dana White mad at him for asking about Apex cards, which I promised the listeners, I said it that the next time I went to a UFC, I would ask Dana about Apex cards, and I did. I followed it up, and he got mad. I don't think the UFC is going to be giving me a job anytime soon. But whoever sets the order should be fired. Like, what the hell, guys? Who is watching MMA and being like, hey, I want to see Serghei Spivak and Yakhyaev on the main card, or I want to see Benefield and Oosthuizen, or filling all those, but not Horiguchi.
Hey, it's the month of sorting out the welterweight division, so we better see what Jack Hermanson has got.
Yeah, that's like. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I mean, like, the thing just gave me is like, how is Horiguchi's return on the prelims? It's nuts to me. And anyways, the orders and we're not done saying the orders obscure. I'm going to say about the next fight too, but Oosthuizen, he's up for an upper echelon fighter. I still think he's an upper echelon fighter. He's on like a little resurgence here, but he isn't much of an athlete. I've said this before. He's very plodding. But he does like stalk his opponents. He's got decent output, though I do think it has been declining as he's gotten older over the years. He's a short, tight boxer. He slides in the mid range and lands shots. His left hook is his best weapon. He hits hard. I've said for years that his power is overrated, but he has shown recently that maybe it's coming back. I mean, he had that crazy KO of Johnny Walker. He is good in close quarters. That's where he's best. The dirty boxing range. He's strong there. He can't sneak in a takedown, but I definitely wouldn't call him a wrestler. But he did get takedowns against like Anthony Smith and Paul Craig and Dominic Reyes. So he's a weaker defensive wrestler. Krylov took him down with ease. He needs to improve his get-up game too. In the grappling, he's a top-side grappler. He isn't a submission threat, but to his credit, he wasn't submitted by Paul Craig, and he kind of showed, fight IQ by not grappling with Craig. Is cardio, like I think he's smart where he's declined his output because his cardio looked really bad against Krylov. Menafield, he's the opposite. He's a pretty good athlete. He's got some good footwork. He uses it to keep his distance. He likes his big counter right hand. He has real power if he connects. He has a bunch of KOs in the UFC. He does load up a lot and look to end the fight with the one single blow, and he kind of telegraphs his shots because of it. He also overthrow, which leaves him for the big counter. That's why if he misses, he could be the one getting connected and knocked out. He also constantly headhunts. Not a lot of variety in striking. He tends to also fight in spurts. It's kind of his way of conserving energy. He can be very low output. He throws a lot of kicks. He likes his high kick. He has a hard calf kick. He needs to improve his defense, though. It's really not a strength. He's not a great offensive wrestler. Not much there. He recently stopped some takedowns against like Devin Clark and Jimmy Crew and stuff. So that's a good sign. Omar C is another guy that was trying to take him down. He couldn't. So his grappling has come a long way. I mean, he got a guillotine against Jimmy Crew. He has gassed out in the past, but I think his gas tank has improved drastically too. He did gas out a little bit against Julius Walker, but he still found a way to dig deep and get that win. So that's impressive. But I am worried about his durability. He was recently smashed by Carlos Oberg and as a Matt Mirzakhanov. So I'm not high on either guy. I don't trust Menafield's durability. So I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go with Oosthuizen. Oosthuizen has shown recently he still has power. I say Oosthuizen catches him in the first round. So I'm going to go the complete opposite. I'm going to say Oosthuizen is the one that wins by first round knockout.
So There may not be a consensus upset pick on this card at all, but we are consensus in saying take the under on this one.
You know what though, part of me, I'm not confident because part of me could see like them being low output and it being like a really boring. They're scared to pull the trigger. So I don't know.
No, please no. That brings us to the co-main event of UFC Fight Night 265, a welterweight contenders matchup between former champ Belal Muhammad and rising contender Ian Garry. Muhammad, the 37-year-old fighting, hailing from Chicago, fighting out of Milwaukee, 24-4 with 1 no contest overall, 15-4 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He is, of course, the former welterweight champ. He won the title at UFC 304 last summer with a unanimous decision over Leon Edwards, then came back this May at UFC 315 and relinquished the title to Jack Della Maddalena via unanimous decision. That title has, of course, changed hands again, and Muhammad is under the gun to prove that he is still a factor in the future of this division. In order to prove that, he will need to get past the man who calls himself the future and is trying to make the future the present. Garry, 28-year-old Irishman, 16-1 overall, 9-1 since joining the UFC as the former Cage Warriors welterweight champ. He's coming in off a win. He picked up a unanimous decision over Carlos Prates in the headliner of UFC on ESPN 66 back in April. That allowed him to bounce back from his first career loss, which was last December at UFC 310, where he dropped a 5-round unanimous decision to Shavkat Rakhmonov. Plenty at stake in this fight. I believe I am teeing this up for Keith to talk about why it should be the main event instead of the co-main. But let's talk about the odds.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, let's talk about the odds first. Keith, do you want me to tell you who the favorite is and have you guess the line, or tell you the line and have you guess the favorite?
I don't know. Whatever the listeners like better. I don't know which one. I guess, yeah. How about this?
Because if I tell you the line, you're going to know who the favorite is.
Okay. All right. Let me do both. Belal Muhammad is the favorite. The way you said it, it's going to be -200.
Your favorite is Ian Garry, -240.
Get the fuck out of here.
Belal Muhammad, +190.
Oh, the guy loses one match. And it's
Man,
God.
I should just, yep.
-2. I'm like an Ian Garry guy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's nuts. I
right.
got to look up my whole family yelling about that. So.
I think I hear your wife yelling at you to hit the bricks. Yeah. I want to just splice in a block of me talking about the Makhachev versus Della Maddalena main event from last weekend, because I'm about to say the same thing. This all comes down to whether you think Muhammad's loss to Della Maddalena was just down to Muhammad having some sort of in-camp injury, being on the downslope at age 37, or it was a lights-out performance by Della Maddalena. Like, that defined the Della Maddalena versus Makhachev fight, and it defines this one. Because if Belal Muhammad is still the guy he was a year ago and just had a bad night at the office or had a foot injury that really hampered him against Della Maddalena and he's back to normal, he's well equipped to handle Ian Garry. If he's the same guy we saw against Della Maddalena, Garry might style on him. Like, Belal Muhammad has fought against a size disparity against about 80% of his UFC opponents, and athleticism disparity against probably about 60 or 70% of them. And nonetheless, I mean, he's 15-4 in the UFC and had a 10-fight unbeaten run, mostly against contenders. And it's all down to being one of the greatest fighters in UFC history at weaponizing pace and cardio. Like, neck and neck with Merab Dvalishvili, where he doesn't care if he goes 1 for his first 8 takedown attempts, because he's going to be there in round 3, or God help you if this is a title fight and it's round 5. He never stops. And when I say weaponized cardio, it's not just that he's there in round 2, 3, 4, 5 is that he's making his opponent do things they don't want to do. He's putting you on the back foot. He's just coming forward with a basic 1-2 and a leg kick, but making you react to it. He's trying another takedown. Oh my God, get this guy off me. Because what really makes you tired is your opponent making you move when you don't want to. It all evaporated shockingly against Della Maddalena. Like, that's where the question comes in here. Like, yes, Gary is a decade younger than Muhammad. He is substantially taller and rangier, and he's a fighter that actually uses his range pretty well. No, most people don't think of him as a wrestler or a ground fighter, but you know, his first background is in judo, and he is sneakily very hard to take down. Like, he's been taken down in the UFC, but by people like Shavkat Rakhmonov. I mean, I just talked for like 3 or 4 minutes, and I'm just circling right back around to the same question I started with. Is the real Bilal Muhammad the one we just saw against Della Maddalena? I'm worried that he kind of is. That a fight style that ran on just durability, relentless pace, and wrestling that was both technical and persistent might be going away. I mean, this is the same guy that like a year ago was throwing Leon Edwards with a high crotch, like just literally just dumping him ass over tea kettle onto his head. But there's no reason he couldn't do that to Gary. Gary, in broad strokes, is a pretty similar fighter to Leon Edwards. But my guess is he doesn't have it in him to do that anymore. Give me Gary to win a nip tuck decision here. It may not be a sensational fight to watch. Whatever Muhammad has left is going to be enough to make this scrappy and ugly. I don't think Gary's going to run roughshod over him, but I think we probably have a first round that's pretty close, and then from there, Gary just slowly starts to pull away instead of the other way around. Would love to be wrong, not because I don't like Gary. Like, I like Gary as well, and nickname silliness aside, I do think he is part of the future of the division. But yeah, it's been a joy to watch Bilal Muhammad. I think the fun might be coming to an end. Give me Gary by decision.
Yeah, it's funny you said it's a joy to watch Bilal Muhammad. I think a lot of people want to say that. I agree with you. I think he actually is exciting, but I'm looking at the line. So I cheated. I actually know what the line is for the main event. So sorry, guys. Yeah. I wanted to see how much the line moved since Saturday. So on Saturday, Ian Gary was -200, which I still think is way too big. But now he's -235. So based on that, people started, I think based on how Jack Della Maddalena did, people started betting against Bilal Muhammad. It almost makes him look worse. And then I looked back to Bilal Muhammad. Since Bilal Muhammad got poked in the eye against Leon Edwards, if you want to be a Bilal Muhammad hater, you can make this argument. Like, we'll start from the first one. Damian Maia, Steven Thompson, Vicente Luque. All three guys, old, past. I know Vicente's not, he's old in damage, not old in age, but those three, obviously, all extremely old guys, passing on. Sean Brady, not going to Sean Brady, that win looks a little worse than it did coming in Saturday. Again, I still think it's a very good one. Gilbert Burns falls into that first category with could be shot. Leon Edwards, his last career win, is not looking nearly as good as it did, at the time when he won the title. And then obviously the Jack Della Maddalena loss looks even worse. Ian Machado Gary, on the other hand, he's got that one loss to Shavkat, which was extremely close. But, his next fight, he beats Carlos Prates. That is aged well. Beat Michael Page. That was a boring fight, but that is aged well. So it's like, that said, I was going to say this. I'm going to say even more. I'm even more intrigued by this fight. Why is this fight not the main event? How do you have Bilal Muhammad, who, what was it? 6 months ago? 7 months ago? What was it?
Like 6 months ago. Yeah, it was May 10th.
Yeah. 6 months ago, this guy was the champion.
He sure was.
Then he's going against Ian Gary, who's one of the most marketable guys, maybe the most marketable, well, besides Michael Morales, according to every reporter that was there on Saturday, like one of the most marketable guys in the division. Why is this fight the co-main event? And Sarukian, who kind of screwed you at a pay-per-view his last fight, and Dan Hooker, who is what he is at this point, but he's fun, likable guy. But why is that the main event? Why isn't this the main event?
I don't get it, because here's the thing. Every possible way you could make that decision. Like when there are two fights of roughly the same merit, like when there are two title fights, it's usually the heavier fight that becomes the main event.
Yeah.
You already know what the line is for the main event, so you know that it is it's not close on the books.
I didn't expect it to be that big, but I expected it to be big. Yeah.
But Gary is the biggest star of the four.
He's the biggest. Yeah, he's the biggest and most marketable. Bilal Muhammad is the most accomplished. It's more competitive. Yeah. It's heavier. People are going to talk about it more. The pre-talk people talk about it more. They're the ones Hooker's fun, but he's not like a big trash. He's like fun, goofy, like and Sarukian could talk a little bit, but still like Bilal and you put those guys in a press conference, Bilal and I know that you got to do a press conference, not a pay-per-view, but they can talk.
Yeah,
I just don't get it, and now I'm even more intrigued because by the line. So, for a former champion, Bilal Muhammad, he isn't a great athlete. He is really tough though. Say what you want, the way he took a beating from Jack Della Maddalena, he kept coming. He made that fight, or in a fight that he was clearly getting outclassed. I've said this before, but he does everything good, but there is one thing he does great, and that's pressure. He's a builder that gets stronger. He pressured Sean Brady, and that's what Brady does to other people. He's got incredible cardio. He stays super busy. He's a good striker, not as good of a striker as he thinks he is, but he's a much better striker than he gets credit with. I know that doesn't look good against Jack Della Maddalena, but he's still a pretty good striker. He moves well. He sets up his shots well with feints. He works behind a jab. A lot of variety in striking. He'll hold back his power to win with volume. He's got a nice left hook, good, nice uppercuts inside. He goes to the body. He has some power, big kicking game, hard body kicks, mean calf kicks. He is very hittable, and that's because he walks through punches. He doesn't really move his head enough. He's been hurt a bunch, but he's super tough that he just kind of still stays in the fight. He's a good wrestler. He does well to get to the clinch. He will grind the life out of you, but he also shoot from outside. He's got a good reactionary double if you overthrow his shots. He'll set up his own entries by striking if he's forcing you on his back foot. Great at timing and dropping on his opponents when they start. Like if he gets in close and he's opening up big shots, that's when he'll just kind of drop, lower his level, and get in. He's relentless to get the fight to the ground. Good top control, good back takes. Like one of underrated like backpackers. Like he'll get on the back and body triangle. He's hard to take down himself, and he's got good cardio. Ian Machado Gary, big dude, very big guy, very intelligent fighter. Usually has a good game plan to beat his opponent. I've said before, I think he's underrated. I think he's starting getting the respect from the fans. People used to hate on him, and it seems like a fight that he lost, his only career loss, the Shavkat, is the one that changed everyone's opinion on him. Where I still don't think he's I don't know if he's a fan favorite, but a lot of the stuff that people hated on for doesn't really get talked about as much. He's a good athlete. He's elusive. He cuts angles well with footwork. He's a good striker. He's also a builder as the fight goes along. Very relaxed. He's an out fighter. technical on the feet. He's got fast hands. He's accurate. He measures his opponents really well. He has a very good jab. When he lets his hand go, he attacks with combination. He targets the body. Defensively, nice head movement. And I've said this before, he needs the head movement because he hangs his hands low. Kind of trying to get you to overthrow at his head, where he'll just slide and counter. A lot of hard hooks. I like his step-in knees, which he uses to kind of keep his opponents at bay and not crash the pocket on him. Really good kicking game, fast high kick. I mean, blasted Daniel Rodriguez with a high kick, a lot of calf kicks. He stuck some takedowns in against Carlos Pratas, which is small. He stuck takedowns in against Michael Van Page, though I still wouldn't call him a wrestler. Definitely he is a judo guy, so I was going to say he's more of a grappler than a wrestler. Gets the fight to the ground. I like his control. I mean, he's got some hard ground and pound. I think his overall grappling is underrated, particularly his head attacks. He likes Darce jokes and anacondas, and he shows solid takedown defense against Shavkat Rakhmonov. So I think this is an incredible fight. Again, I don't understand why it's not the main event. I don't want to keep going into it, but I expect this fight to be similar to the Shavkat Gary fight. I expect a lot more action, but what I mean is both guys are going to have their moments. I think it's going to be very close. I think the question you asked is Bilal, is he kind of shot? Is he past his age? He's 37. He's all those questions will be answered. It's really close. I would, if it was a 5-round fight, I would feel not good about picking Muhammad, but I feel better about picking Muhammad, I guess. I definitely give him more advantage. I expect Muhammad to wrestle Gary, as he should. I think he's going to have a hard time taking Gary down because Gary's size, because he's so big. He's an underrated grappler. I still think he's going to force Gary onto his back foot. He's going to be the one pressing the action. I think we're going to get the Bilal Muhammad that went on this historic run. I believe in that run. I don't think he took out a bunch of shot fighters. I think I know the Leon Edwards one looks bad based on what happened since and even how Edwards looked in that fight. Give me Muhammad. I'm still believing him. I think it's going to be a really close fight. So I guess I'm taking a pretty big upset, but I'm going to take Muhammad a really close. I'll say it's so close. I'll say it's a split decision. But give me Muhammad. His output wins it.
And I'm glad you brought up the 3 versus 5 rounds thing, because I was going to ask you otherwise if it would have made you feel differently. So excellent.
I feel like we had cheated 2 rounds.
Yet another reason this should be the main event.
When you have 2 guys ranked, it should automatically become a 5-round fight. No matter where it is on the card, if you have 2 ranked fighters, a 5-round fight. Or maybe a certain high level of top 10, top 5, something. Well, this might not be top 5, but top 10 automatically.
Yeah. Certainly any former champ.
Within reason. I don't want to see Cody Garbrandt in 5-round fights, but yeah.
Oh, maybe that'd make him retire.
Yeah.
With that, we come to the main event of UFC Fight Night 265. A lightweight matchup between Arman Tsarukyan and Dan Hooker. Tsarukyan, the 29-year-old Armenian-Russian, is 22-3 overall. He's 9-2 in the UFC, and he is on a 4-fight win streak. Since losing a unanimous decision to Mateusz Gamrot in the headliner of UFC on ESPN 38 back in summer of 2022, he has consecutive wins over Damir Ismagulov, Joaquim Silva, Beneil Dariush, and in his most recent outing last April, Charles Oliveira, whom he defeated via split decision for easily the biggest win of his career. He's been a busy man in the 18 months since then, but mostly on social media. He's well overdue to get back in the cage, been sniping back and forth with Ilia Topuria as well as Islam Makhachev, but difference is those guys are booking fights. He's finally back in the cage, and ready to welcome him back is Dan the Hangman, 35-year-old New Zealander, 24-12 overall, 14-8 in the UFC, on a 3-fight win streak of his own. That's the good news. The bad news is the most recent of those wins was back in 2024 for him as well. He won a split decision over Gamrot at UFC 305 last August. Keith already looked at the odds here, so you will be spared the joy of him swearing in indignation and disbelief. But Tsarukyan is minus 525, Hooker plus 400 coming back. Yeah, Tsarukyan, the second biggest favorite on the card.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, after a guy fighting Raffael Cerqueira.
So one of the, and I apologize for which listener said this, but one of the listeners recently in the last, I think it was the last show, they put in the comments like, Keith, I wish you opened up your own bookie, basically saying like I've given out free money. But that's said, and people put it, do you feel like I'm more right, or do you feel like the Vegas lines are more right?
Yeah, let us know what you think, guys. I mean, if they,
I might be just be an idiot. So,
yeah, but here's the thing: if Tsarukyan is a 5-1 favorite and he's within a stone's throw of minus 500 at all the major books, that means there is money coming in on him at that level, or they'd move the line lower. So somebody's wrong, because we both think that's kind of bananas.
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's bananas in the how you view Tsarukyan. If you view Tsarukyan as the guy that a lot of people were picking to beat Islam Makhachev when they were going to fight each other in the rematch, then if you view him on the level of Islam Makhachev, then he should be a negative 500 favorite. However, he got pulled out of that fight for an injury. I believe it was a back injury, wasn't it?
I remember it not being a limb, like it was like back or shoulder or neck or something. Yeah.
Something that we've seen change people. That alone should not make him not that is big a favorite. Should he still be a big favorite? Sure, I understand why he's a big favorite.
Yeah.
But negative 500. And honestly, I feel like you get to a certain level, it's like, haven't we seen huge upsets? Like everyone said, I mean, I always think about when TJ Dillashaw took on Renan Barão. He was this massive underdog, and I took Barão. Everyone took Barão, but it was like, it's TJ Dillashaw is still super skilled. Like, why didn't we see that?
Yeah, both of these guys are veteran, athletic, very skilled fighters. We all know why the line is what it is. Like what this hinges on is everyone seems to believe that Tsarukyan is going to be able to take Hooker down really easily, and that Hooker's not going to get back up. Either he's not going to get back up until the end of the round, or he's not going to get back up, period. That's where this is coming from, because Tsarukyan is a very good striker. Like, he's an extremely well-rounded fighter. He's a good boxer who I think his kicks are underrated. He's pretty good defensively on the feet as well. Because he is a little guy for the division, pretty much everybody he fights has reach on him. Like, yeah, Hooker's going to be 5 inches taller than he is and probably have 6 or 8 inches of reach on him. But you could say that about a lot of the people that Tsarukyan has fought. Like, hell, Tsarukyan fought Joel Alvarez. He fought Damir Ismagulov. He fought Charles Oliveira. Like, these are big, long, rangy lightweights. Yeah, he's a very good striker. Good defensive fundamentals, and then he's a fantastic wrestler and grappler. And I mean, his wrestling is kind of its own thing. And I have the feeling that, like, say he decided that when he got to the UFC that he was going to make the sacrifices and do what it took to fight at 145 pounds. I think he'd probably be a different kind of wrestler and grappler than he is. Like, he's that smart, he's that well trained, he's that experienced. But at 155, he is much more a guy who creates and wins scrambles than a guy who just shoots a power double, parks in guard, and goes to work from there like an old school wrestler. And I think that just comes down to him giving up size to everybody. I think he probably realizes on some level, I'm not going to be able to hold down the Joel Alvarez's, the Joaquim Silvas, the Beneil Dariush's of the world, I need to play to my own strengths, and my own strengths are that I'm a fantastic grappler with just great positional body awareness. If I can get things rolling like a Looney Tunes cloud of dust, I'm probably going to find opportunities to take the back, to grab a limb, to throw in some sneaky punches. His competitive loss to Gamrot, his last loss in the UFC, is still one of my favorite fights in the UFC in the last decade. That was 5 rounds and was that much ground fighting. Like it was a blast. He could probably beat Hooker in a nearly pure striking battle. Like Hooker is tall, rangy, throws an excellent variety of offensive techniques, but he's always been hittable. Like and in fact, good ground or good stand-up fighters have found him very hittable in some cases. It's been a lot of years, but obviously his loss to Edson Barboza was one of the biggest beatdowns of the decade in the UFC. But, people like Poirier, Arnold Allen have just gotten inside on him, started hitting him to the body, hitting him to the head. And while he's tough to a fault, again, look no further than the Barboza fight, it is possible to switch his lights off. So after all of me saying that it's wild that Sarukian's such a huge favorite, I understand why Sarukian's such a huge favorite. He could probably beat Hooker even by going at Hooker at his own strengths, but I do think he's going to be able to take him down. And Hooker might be one of the few guys where Sarukian actually could just keep him down. I don't think Hooker's get-up game is that great. With 5 rounds to work, I could see this making the final horn, especially if Sarukian comes in conservative, especially because Sarukian on some level has to know, if I get my hand raised in any uncontroversial manner here, I can go back to sniping at both Topuria and Makhachev online until one of them agrees to fight me. Whereas if I lose to Hooker, I'm going to not to the back of the line, but there's plenty of people lining up for title shots. Even so, Hooker's older. This is a bad style matchup. He's taken a lot of damage, even in his victories. Give me Sarukian to get a finish, probably either ground and pound or submission in the 4th or 5th round. For the sake of being specific, I'm going to say it's a 4th round submission, but 4th round, TKO ground and pound would not be out of the realm of possibility either, but it'll probably be pretty one-sided for as long as it goes. And on the recap, we'll probably be talking about the few bright moments where Hooker caught him, with an almost clean head kick or a really sharp 1-2, and that's about it.
Yeah. So while I just said that Muhammad versus Michelle Gary should be the main event, I want to make it clear, I'm not bashing these guys, particularly Sarukian. Sarukian, I mean, if you go by his skill, you could still make an argument that this guy deserves a title shot at 155. I mean, he has that long streak. Did he ruin his chance? Yeah. But was it bad luck? Yeah, I lean towards it was bad luck and shit happens and guys get hurt and that sucks and you could still make an argument that at that time when Makhachev was the champion, he had the strongest possibility of beating him. I think you can make that argument now with Ilia Topuria. I mean, I know you have the line of guys jockeying for position. I know there's an argument for Gaethje to fight him. I know there's an argument for Patty to fight him. Sarukian probably still gives you the best chance of winning. And you know how high I am on Ilia. I still don't know if I'm giving anybody that big a chance. But that's if Sarukian is the guy we last saw, when we last saw him fight. The guy we last saw him fight is an incredible athlete. I mean, he ran right through Benito Darius. Again, not a one that has aged too well, but at that time was
it was 2 years ago, man. Yeah.
But still, I mean, he's been he knocked out a bunch of times, but
yeah,
he's very well rounded. He moves well. He cuts angles on his feet well. Good head movement, slip and rip kind of guy. He's good at not just slipping, but also staying in range so he can counter with accurate shots himself. He's a good boxer, quick hands, works the body well. I mean, he beat up Gamrot with body shots. He has big power in both of his hands. He'll toss also some spinning attacks occasionally. He loves calf kicks. He's an excellent wrestler. I said this when we previewed his fight against Makhachev, the second time they go to fight. He lost a wrestling match to Makhachev, but he won exchanges in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if we were scoring an incident, you know, he lost 7-3, you know, something like that. Like he had moments. He has really fast entries. He's good at winning scrambles. He loves foot sweeps in the clinch. He's a good grappler. The fight hits the ground. He out grappled Dalby Hamos, who's, you know, former Abu Dhabi champion. He controls Charles Oliveira for very long periods in their fight. He has great control. He attacks opponents' post when they're trying to get off the bottom, very similar to like the Dagestans do. Good head positioning on top, good slicing elbows on top. He showed incredible sub-defense against Charles Oliveira. I am a little worried about his cardio. I mean, he lost to Gamrot a while ago, but he lost to Gamrot because the cardio slipped in the slightest of matchup. And then he also got in big trouble in the third round against Charles Oliveira. So now he's got 2 more rounds for Hooker to do something. Hooker's a good striker, very, you know, long and rangy kind of guy. He uses footwork to keep his range. Very, very good at getting his opponents to chase them, and then suddenly he stops and he beats them at the point of contact. He has a good check left hook to keep his distance. I like his stepping knees that he used to keep his distance. He does fight at a high pace, accurate. He's got plus power, a lot of kicks, teep kicks, good calf kicks. But due to his long legs, he's open for his legs to be kicked himself. I know it was a long time ago, but like Edson Barboza had an all-time legendary performance kicking his legs. He doesn't get enough credit for his offensive wrestling. He gets a lot of takedowns, especially in the clinch. He likes like slide bys and stuff. You know, not your traditional. And then I don't want to say not your traditional wrestling, but because we do see that in wrestling, but not your traditional like takedowns in MMA. He will shoot takedowns from distance, but a lot of times it's just like he'll time like someone throwing a kick at him. I think he should wrestle more. I don't know if this is the match to do it, but just in generally, he defensively he has like tall man's defense, where sometimes he can get his legs like, you know, stretched out wide against the cage, and it's hard to take him down. And he lands like elbows and stuff in close. But I would still categorize him as like a poor defensive wrestler. He is hard to submit. We saw that against Claudio Puelles. And he's hard to hold down just because he's a big guy. He fights at a great pace. I am worried about his durability. I mean, he's taken God knows how much damage over the years. I mean, I think Paul Felder fight, Chandler fight, you know, poor Felder, like his chin has fallen apart suddenly though. So I'm sorry, I say his chin could fall apart suddenly, so that's concerning. This is a fun fight. I do like Sarukian. I like him pretty big. I think he hits harder than Hooker, and I think he's like 1,000 times the wrestler. I expect Sarukian to hurt him on the feet. I think he'll get even more takedowns on him. I expect Hooker to be on his back for a majority of the fight, get beat up. Hooker's insanely tough. He's definitely not a guy that'll quit. He'll be going hard the entire 15 minutes. If there was 25, I might take Sarukian to get a stoppage. But, oh no, wait, what am I saying? I'm still thinking this is the co-main event. I know it's messing me up. So, you know, I wrote down Sarukian by decision. I'm going to go Sarukian by decision. So I say this. He's only going to get 2 more rounds to get beat up. But I like Sarukian. Again, if the back injury hasn't changed him on the neck, whatever it was, give me Sarukian. Pretty lopsided decision.
And there you go. The Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC Fight Night 265, Sarukian versus Hooker, also known as UFC Qatar. I've been Ben. He has been Keith. If this is your first time watching or listening to one of our previews, first of all, thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. We do our best to bring a mix of in-depth analysis and occasional humorous or historic asides that we think is pretty unique in this industry. Please do like, subscribe. Neither of those things cost you anything. They make our bosses happy. They allow us to keep bringing you this content free of charge. Drop us a comment. Keith and I both man the comment section. We'd love to hear your take on these fights. There are usually at least a couple of unanimous upset picks on any of these previews, and our batting average on those is pretty damn good. There weren't any this time, so if you think we left any obvious money on the table, let us know, because if you're right and we're wrong, we will give you all your flowers on the recap. You just have to come collect them. We are live on the Sherdog YouTube page right after the main event. Keith takes the captain's chair. We'll talk about all 14 of these fights, from the headliner on down to the heavyweight opener, talking about what was good, what was bad, what was surprising, what was controversial. There's always something. Talking about what's next for some of the notable winners as well as losers, and talking with you. The live chat is open that whole time, so we are taking your questions, your comments, and your hot takes in real time. We have a growing community of friends that hang out with us after the fights, and we'd love for you to be part of it. Between now and then, thank you once again for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and by all means, enjoy these fights.